All right, today we're diving into something pretty radical. It's called Operatorology. Now, I want you to forget everything you think you know about business theories, because this isn't a theory. It's being pitched as a whole new science, the science of survival for pretty much any project in our crazy, fast-moving world.
So let's just jump right in with a question that I'm sure keeps a lot of us up at night. You've seen it, right? A brilliant project, a truly revolutionary product, a strategy that seems like a total game changer, and then, poof, it just fails. Why on earth does that happen so often?
And here it is, the core idea behind Operatorology. The problem, so often, isn't that the idea was bad, it's that it lost a race against time. The project was totally sound, maybe even perfect, but the world just moved on before it ever had a chance to win.
And that brings us to the heart of the problem. We're all trained to judge ideas based on how clever they are or how elegant the logic is. We fall in love with the beauty of an idea. But the real world, it couldn't care less about that. The real world has just one test. Can you endure?
So what this means is we need a huge mental shift. We've got to stop asking, hey, is this a good idea? And start asking a much tougher, more important question. Is this idea a survivor? And figuring that out is exactly what Operatorology is built to do.
Okay, so how do you actually test for that, for survivability? Well, this isn't about gut feelings or, just hoping for the best. Operatorology sets out a formal method. It's about building a really tough, rigorous test that any idea has to pass before it gets the green light. And the tool for this test, it's called an operator. The best way to think about it is like a bouncer for your ideas. Seriously, it's a logical filter, and its only job is to stand at the door and check every single strategy. If an idea is too fragile to make it in the real world, it gets tossed out. No exceptions.
This is pretty much the first line of the Operatorology Manifesto. And it's so powerful, it totally reframes how we think about ideas. They're not these passive little things we admire from afar. No, they're active things that have to fight for their right to exist. They've got to earn it. And here's the second part. It sounds a little brutal, right? But it's absolutely essential. The operator's job is to spot the projects that are basically doomed from the start, the stillborn ideas, and get rid of them before you sink years of your life and millions of dollars into them.
So here's how it looks in practice. Imagine a giant funnel. At the top, you pour in all your possible strategies, the good, the bad, the crazy. That's your input. Then, in the middle, they hit the operator. It applies that harsh survivability test. And what comes out the bottom? A much smaller, tougher, and way more realistic set of options. These are the only ones with a real shot.
Okay, I know, that might all sound a little abstract. So let's bring it down to earth with a really powerful, concrete example. It's called the Pre-Obsolescence Logic Operator, or PLO for short, and its whole job is to protect you from that failure by time thing we were just talking about.
This is how we turn the concept into a real tool. The PLO just uses a few key variables. TDev is your development time, how long to build it. TPay is how long till you get your money back. PDIS, that's the probability that some new disruptive tech comes along and makes you irrelevant. R is your project's armor, things like patents. And theta, well, that's just how much risk you're willing to stomach. So the operator just applies one single, simple rule. It adds up your development time and your payback time to get the total time your project is vulnerable. Then it asks a simple question. Over that whole period, is your probability of surviving higher than your minimum threshold? If it's a yes, your project gets a license to live. If it's a no, it gets filtered out. End of story.
Let's run a quick case study. Imagine a brilliant idea, a battery that can power a car for 2,000 kilometers. Amazing, right? A world changer. But it needs a huge investment, a really long development time, and an even longer payback period. The PLO operator takes one look at that total time and says, fail. The project is just exposed for way too long. The chances that some other new tech will pop up and make it obsolete are just too high. It's a fantastic idea, but it's not a survivor.
Now this is where the idea gets even bigger. Because this isn't just a mental model for people. The folks behind Operatorology see this as the actual future of automated decision-making. It's an evolution from artificial intelligence to something they call operator intelligence. And to get this, you have to see the fundamental shift here. Look, traditional math and science, they're all about figuring out what's true or false. But Operatorology, it works with ideas, with plans, and it asks a completely different question. Does it survive or does it die?
So its output isn't one right answer. It's a filtered set of options that have earned the right to exist.
And this, right here, is the key weakness of AI today. It's absolutely brilliant at dreaming up possibilities. It's an idea machine. But it's terrible at understanding real-world constraints. It can spit out 1,000 strategies, but it has no clue which ones would actually survive contact with reality.
So, operator intelligence, or OI, is a whole new architecture. You let the AI be the creative genius. Let it generate all the options. But before any decision gets made, every single one of those options has to go through a series of operators, a stack of filters that stress tests them against the harsh realities of the world.
And here's what that gauntlet looks like. First, the constraint operator throws out anything that's physically impossible or, illegal. Then, the robustness operator gets rid of anything that's just too fragile. After that, our old friend, the PLO operator, checks for obsolescence. From the few ideas left standing, the optimization operator picks the very best. And finally, a stabilization operator locks it in.
I mean, this says it all, doesn't it? Traditional AI asks a question about data patterns. Which one looks best? Operator intelligence asks a much deeper question, a question about reality. Which one is even allowed to exist? It's the huge difference between a smart guess and a license to operate.
And that really brings us to the final thought. This stuff isn't just for AI systems or massive corporations. We can all use this way of thinking. So the next time you have a big idea, a project you're excited about, don't just ask yourself if it's a good idea. Ask what test it needs to pass to survive. What's your personal operator?